Thank you for joining Wars of the Rosies. And this is part 15, the Pansophic College, from Orders of Universal Reformation by Manly P. Hall. The Pansophic College. Comenius is known to have exercised a considerable force upon Masonic and other secret societies operating in Europe in the early years of the 17th century. He became a chaplain of the Bohemian Brothers and, like most religious liberals, suffered considerable persecution, exiled from Austria with other non-Catholics. He traveled extensively and resided 4 years in Hungary and Transylvania. By the invitation of Prince Rakelski, it is said that when James Anderson compiled his celebrated work, The Constitutions of the Freemasons in 1723, he incorporated many of the elements of educational reform outlined by Comenius. We must pause for a moment, therefore, and consider the Pansophic system of education, at which Comenius worked so diligently between 1630 and 1637. During these years, he was integrating a program or method of universal education based upon the Baconian concept of learning. Comenius sent a letter to Hartlib in England outlining his project. Hartlib, already referred to in connection with the Royal Society, was so impressed that he published the epistle without permission in 1637. Later in his collected works, Comenius called this letter Prodomus Pansophiae. The Prodomus presents a sketch of the Pansophic University, which combines the function of a college and a temple. The plan is utopian in the education field. Christian Pansophy, which is idealistic encyclopedism, is divided into 7 parts. The first part explains the need and possibility of such a college temple and sets forth its structure and dimensions. The second part reveals the inner apparatus of wisdom and the fundamental principles and axioms by which man may attain to the knowledge of all things knowable. The third part examines all visible nature towards the discovery of secret causes. The fourth part explores the human personality and its reasoning powers. The fifth part treats of man's spiritual nature and his restoration in Christ. The sixth part is the true and, to the world, unknown theology, which leads all men to God. The seventh part sets forth the means by which this true and eternal wisdom can be disseminated throughout the world. Comenius was convinced that previous systems of education, both religious and secular, had failed because they led to competitive specialization. The law was ignorant of philosophy, the physician was without spiritual insight, and the physicist knew nothing of metaphysics. Through Pansophy, the human being was to be led gently and wisely through the knowledge of things to the love and service of God, the source of all things. The Baconian foundation of this scheme is obvious, and the fact that the outline was published at Oxford prior to the founding of the Royal Society may have influenced the form and constitution of this learned body, although the use of the word Pansophy to designate an organizational college of universal science is generally supposed to have originated with Comenius. The term actually links the great educator directly with the Brotherhood of the Rosy Cross. Comenius was 26 years old when an obscure writer, who signed himself Theophilus Swaggart Constantines, published a curious little work entitled Speculum Sophicum Rodu Starotacum. The title page states that the book is an extensive exploration of the collegium, society, brotherhood, or universal building, and the rules of the specially enlightened brotherhood of the Rosicrucians. The author, who describes himself by the grace of God and nature, unchangeable forever, concludes his preface with the words, "From our Central Attic Museum, I wrote this on March 1, 1617. The title page is dated 1618, and no place of publication is given. Writer Theophilus, after rambling about in a maze of pious phrases, finally gives the following description of the collegium, of the, through God, highly enlightened brotherhood of Rosencreutz. Much can be read between the lines of his curious wording. It is a building, a great building, without doors or windows, a princely, yes, imperial place, to be seen from everywhere and still hid from the eyes of men. It is adorned with all kinds of divine and natural riches, and a satisfactory explanation in its theories and practice is allowed to everyone without extra remuneration or expense. But the privilege is practiced by but few, since the building seems to be badly constructed, poor, old, and well known to the mind of the news-hungry and stupid people. Of itself, it is, however, so rich, so artistically and marvelously constructed that there is no art, science, riches, gold, precious stones, money, possessions, honor, authority, and knowledge in the whole world which cannot be found in the most blessed place in the highest degree. It is, however, thus fortified by God and nature and protected from the violence of imprudent people, that though all battering rams, cannons, and petards, and more such newly invented war instruments would be turned against it with the greatest possible force, still all human effort and labor would be in vain and for naught. This now is the Collegium ad SS of the Brotherhood of Rosenkreuz. This is the royal, yes, more than imperial palace, whereof the brothers speak so kindly in their history, the Fama, wherein are hidden the gorgeous, precious treasures and riches. In this book they are clearly enough indicated. While all this description is interesting and certainly refers to the concept of a universal college temple, the point of greatest interest lies further on in the tract. On page 15 of the Speculum, the reticent Theophilus remarks, I have advanced so far in my Pansophistic studies that I would not therefore exchange all the great riches and treasures of this world. Later, on the same page, our author has a subheading which reads, Here begins the Pansophia of the Rosicrucians, founded by God the Almighty, from the eternity of the world on and graciously reserved for the sons of this blessed century. The speculum ends with 3 engraved plates, the first of which is called Tree of Pansophia. The figure is reproduced later in the collection of Rosicrucian diagrams, published under the title seen here. The speculum also contains the only known reproduction of the Collegium Fraternitas. The Temple of the Rosy Cross is depicted on wheels, suspended from heaven by a cord, and surrounded with emblems relating to the foundation of the society. Thus we have a direct reference to a Pansophic College, published 19 years prior to the outline for such an institution with the same name prepared by Comenius. All things considered, we are entitled to suspect that more than a happy accident is involved. The college temple projected by Comenius, Bacon's College of the 6 Days' Work, the Rosicrucian Workshop, and the Invisible College mentioned by Bull, in which Hartlib was a moving spirit, are remarkably reminiscent of each other. It is most unlikely that they could have represented independent enterprises. The more so when we consider the overlapping of prominent memberships. The title page of Speculum Sophicum Rodu Starotacum. The title page of the Speculum, reproduced herewith, presents many curious emblems relating to the correction of the educational deficiency emphasized by Comenius. 2 female figures, one labeled Physiologa and the other Theologiana, immediately attract the attention. They personify science and religion. The figure of science carries the emblem of religion, the flaming and winged heart, the rose of divine love, and the palm of martyrdom. The figure of religion has a heart suspended from its neck, but it carries the compass and a rule inscribed, nature and art. Here, then, is the synthesis of learning, with science supporting religion and religion supporting science. The entire engraving represents the concept or method by which the universal reformation of human society is to be accomplished. Beneath the panel containing the title is one of the oldest of the Rosicrucian seals, a cross within a wreath ornamented with 4 roses. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Rosies. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.